with Kyron Wilson needing just 2 frames to knock out Mark Allen, the man who beat him, of course, in the Masters final in January. Judd Trump leads John Higgins by 5 frames to 3. That is a repeat of the 2011 final here at the Crucible. Mark Williams, 2-time champion, 4-4 against Ali Carter, twice a runner-up. Maybe this is Ali Carter's year. And Barry Hawkins, what a magnificent performance yesterday. 2 frames needed this morning to see off Ding Junhui. Well, Ding fans, a very good morning to you. You may be a little worried that you're about to say goodbye to your man at this year's championship, but just take a look at this. 2 players have indeed come back from 11-5 down to win here at the Crucible. That was Sean Murphy in 2007, quarter-final match against Matthew Stevens, then won 13-12. And look at that, Neil Robertson, last 16, Martin Gould, 5-11 down, won it 13-12. You may spot another name on there, 2005. Mr. Peter Ebdon is alongside me this morning. A very good morning to you, Peter. Therefore, I have to ask you that then. If you are going to mount an incredible fight back at this amazing arena, what is going through the mind now of Ding Junhui, do you think? It's
just 1 frame at a time. You know, he's got the class to win. He's got the class to win the tournament. Everybody knows what a great player Ding is. And, you know, Barry will be a little bit nervous going out there today. He had a great session yesterday. And for me, Barry Hawkins is just going through the gears now. He stepped up. He wasn't great in his first 2 matches, struggled in his first match, but he's going through the gears now. Just watching him on the practice table there, he's just timing the ball so well, it's unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. Ding has got a mountain to climb, but he's good enough and he's got the class to do it. He just needs a little bit of luck as well, and he needs a little bit of help from his opponent. But I was talking to Steve Davis about this yesterday evening in this very studio. What has happened to Ding's game? What happens to him in the closing stages of a championship here? Because he was hitting the ball so beautifully, and yet he was making mistakes that we didn't see him make in the early rounds, Peter. I think, to be perfectly honest, what you need to understand is these are the very best players in the world. You know, Barry Hawkins is a former world finalist. It took Ronnie O'Sullivan to beat him, and his form has just been quite nicely coming to the ball for this tournament. Look at his record at the Crucible the last 5 years. Unbelievable. Class player, Barry Hawkins. If Barry Hawkins is world champion at the end of this tournament, nobody's surprised. Yeah, and I just want to ask you just very quickly about Kyron Wilson, because he also, like Barry, is just 2 frames away. Incredible performance yesterday. And you've been talking about Kyron possibly becoming a world champion for a good year and a half. I remember having a chat with you last year about this. I practice with Kyron most days. He's a very, very special talent. I think he will be world champion. He's good enough to be world champion, whether he's got the experience to handle everything that goes with the world championship. And it is our toughest test. But he's certainly good enough to be world champion. Great lad as well, great family. I think it would be brilliant for the game if he won. But don't forget Ali Carter. Very true. Don't forget Mark Williams. Don't forget Mark Williams. So many great players, that's the thing. OK, it's raining outside. Stick the telly on and enjoy the snooker with us. Here's Rob Walker.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We started 12 days ago with 32. By the end of tonight, only 4 will remain. This is the day we find out the lineup for the semi-finals of the 2018 Betfred World Snooker Championship. 3 scintillating sessions of snooker today, and it starts right here, right now. Please welcome, first of all, one of the finest sportsmen Scotland has ever produced. He's now up to 30 ranking titles, adding 2 more to his collection this season. It's his 14th quarter-final. 4 times he's lifted the sport's ultimate trophy. It is, of course, the Wizard of Wishaw, John Higgins. And his opponent, the most exciting player of his generation. He survived a decider in the first round, won 5 on the spin against Walden in the last 16. He's hitting form at just the right time. Winner of 8 ranking titles so far. Here he comes with his own brand of naughty snooker, the ace in the pack, Judd Trump. On table 2, please welcome a player developing a formidable record here at the Crucible. After a superb first day in this match, he's 2 frames away from a 5th Crucible semi-final in the last 6 years. 3 times a ranking event winner. Here he comes. He's the Hawk, Barry Hawkins. And finally, a player of truly global significance in the modern game. Winner of 13 ranking titles. He had a very tough second session in this one yesterday, but he'll come out ready to show his class this morning. Sheffield has been his home for more than a decade. So please say good morning to the big man. He's got to turn it on in style. Enter the Yorkshire Dragon, Ding Junhui.
Big cheer for Ding as he walks into the Crucible. Really get the feeling that people want him to make a real fight of this morning. If you want Judd Trump, John Higgins in the company of Ken Doherty and Stephen Hendry, that's on your red button, the BBC Sport website and app. But we are live here on BBC Two. Ding Junhui, Barry Hawkins. Good morning, Peter Ebdon and John Virgo.
Barry Hawkins to break.
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, everybody. Well, are we going to see a remarkable turnaround here? I can't see it myself, but you never know. The Crucible Theatre has produced stranger results, but it's hard to see Ding Junhui coming back from here, Peter.
He's got a mountain to climb, John. He's got the class to do it. But you feel that Barry Hawkins is just playing too well at the moment. Went through the gears yesterday and Ding was disappointing yesterday.
Yeah, you see the pot success, and might only be 3%, but it's enough. And straight away, poor safety. And I think Barry can get to this red. Yes, clearly can. This red to the corner. I think what was more disappointing for Ding Junhui, having lost the first session 5-3, he needed to at least share the frames last night, and every frame, for the first 4 frames, he was in first, and just didn't make it count, which is very unlike him.
Well, after playing so well against Anthony McGill in the previous round, especially in the first session where he was practically flawless, he struggled in the second session of that match.
Well, he feels he can pot this. And look at the left-hand side he's putting on the cue ball. Needs to go in quick. The cue ball was nearly catching it up. Well, this is amazing because he's potted the blue and looked as though he's going to finish up on nothing, and he's got to finish up with a straight red to the left middle. And no reason here, as we see this red just about go in the middle to play the cannon here. He's got the red in the middle of the table, but he needs some more reds open.
40.
It's so tough out there, John, isn't it? And there's so much expectation in this tournament. I looked at Ding when he walked out this morning, and to be honest, he did have the look of a resigned man.
50.
Yeah, well, it's hard to look on the positive side. As I say, he's had, well, in the session last evening, he had all the chances that a player of his quality needed, but just didn't produce.
I think that there's just so much expectation with Ding, the expectation that he
20.
places upon himself, the very high standard that he sets himself, the huge expectation from China. It must be tremendous pressure for him. And this really is
21.
it is the most important tournament, of course, but really it's the only tournament in the game that he's not won.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we all say that, oh, well, he's good enough to win it, but you could say the same about Jimmy White. I mean, he was one of the all-time greats with Jimmy, and he never managed to lift that coveted trophy. So you can't take anything for granted.
To be fair to Jimmy, John, he did have a very special opponent that kept on getting in the way.
He had a few. Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry. In the meantime,
Barry Hawkins, 28.
Barry just couldn't keep it going, but as he's done all match, he's not missing easy balls. And if you don't miss easy balls, okay, you run out of position, you can play a good safety. And that's what he's been doing throughout this match. Made a 100 break in the last frame of the session last evening. There's the high breaks, and they're, funnily enough, are the only 2 centuries that have been made in this match. But Barry has had plenty of 70s and 60s, which are frame-winning breaks at the end of the day.
And Ding has left a tempter for Barry into the left centre, but it's very, very tough. He's also looking at a very thin clip into the right centre, and this is very thin. Won't have too much of an idea where the cue ball's going. He could be cannoning into the brown here. If he does cannon into the brown, he doesn't want to hit the brown too thin because the cue ball could go in the yellow pocket. Excellent pot.
1.
Yeah, and I think as we watch this red in the middle again, and you say excellent pot, and that's just been part and parcel of his game. He's such a consistent player. And the type of player, Peter, you know, although he's made a bit of a hash of the positional side of that shot,
4.
when he's in, you don't fancy missing an easy ball, and that's demoralising when you're sat in your seat.
Absolutely, very, very consistent player. I was speaking to Steve Davis in the studio yesterday, and he says technically, obviously he's a great technician, Steve, and he studies players, the technical side of other players' techniques. And he said that there's very little that can go wrong with Barry's technique, and he's right. He's just got a very simple action, and it works really, really well for him. He's such a good player.
Barry Hawkins, 4.
Yeah, very underrated. Once again, he'd run out of position, but played a telling safety shot. And I suppose really that's the story of the match, that he's not missed any easy balls. And when he has run out of position in the break and he's not been making the centuries and what have you, he keeps putting Ding Junhui in a safe position, and eventually that frustration, exasperation, call it what you will, has forced Ding into making some bad shot selections. But that's due to Barry putting the pressure on him.
Absolutely, John. And I think that is one of Barry Hawkins' greatest strengths, that even if there's a long ball on, if he thinks it's low percentage, or even if he thinks that he's going to struggle maybe to get on a colour, or even if he thinks he's not a frame-winning visit, he'll refuse what the ball that most other players would take on and plays a very telling safety shot. And that's what he's been doing in this match and in his previous match. And it's a great strength to have.
Meanwhile, try number 2 for Ding Junhui. Just short of pace, that was all. He's adjusted well there.
Ding Junhui just looking to see where he'd like to leave the cue ball. He'd like to cut off the escape for Barry down the right-hand side of the table. Just needs to miss the blue here. Oh, he's underhit that by quite some way, and he will be disgusted with that effort. I can assure you that. Very poor safety shot from Ding. You don't say that very often.
Yeah, just reminiscent of last evening. And with that yellow and brown there, well, he's hit the yellow, so he's missed a trick there as Barry. I mean, when you think about the psychology of the game, you sort of look at it. Ding's just had a look, see if there's a possibility of plant to the left corner. Obviously not on, just playing safe. The only thought that Ding Junhui could have coming out this morning is to win the first 4 frames. And that's not beyond the realms of possibility. Excellent safety shot that time. And of course, if he wins the first 4, he's only 2 behind, 11-9, then we've got a game on, and Barry will be under pressure. But can he clear the scoreline out of his mind and just, as you said to Jason in the studio, just take it 1 frame at a time? Easier said than done, I know. But there's a mistake, and it was brought about by Ding Junhui's good safety, and it's forced an error from Barry. So what can he do with this opportunity? Ain't gonna get the job done, missing shots like that.
And that really is a prime example of just how much pressure there is in this World Championship. This great championship that means so much to all the players. Sometimes it can just be too much. It's as simple as that. And it's incredible when you see such great players at this wonderful venue just fold, just capitulate. And he's just not with it at the moment. On this occasion, the pressure seems to have been too much for him.
I think referee Terry Camilleri needs to get a view. Just the brown moved, the yellow moved. Need a bit of help from his assistant. Brendan Moore, who in actual fact is refereeing the final this year. Seems to be quite happy. That's where they were, and that's where they are now. So, pretty good. He's trying to just come off the top cushion with a bit of side hit. Oh, he's played it better that time.
And it's very important, John, isn't it, for Barry to drive home the advantage now, because he doesn't want to give Ding the opportunity. He's got his man where he wants him. He knows he's making mistakes. He knows he's under massive pressure, and he needs to keep him there.
Yeah, and I thought he did very well when he opened up his advantage. It was easy then to start looking over your shoulder. Don't get me wrong, I mean, because Ding Junhui never really produced the form of his last round, it made it a little bit easier, but Barry still had to remain focused. Well, that was a street away. I mean, looking at it, you think, did he play the pot? But that's the game, you know. Every day is different. Such a talent, and produce that against Anthony McGill. Nowhere near that standard in this match, has to be said. Well, that double kiss has got the attention of Ding Junhui and the Crucible crowd here.
1.
They'd love to see a fight back. Now, can he clear his mind and produce the goods?
We've seen a perfect illustration
3.
in this frame so far this morning of just how important the run of the ball is at this highest level in snooker. Ding has made a couple of unforced errors and not left Barry the opportunity. Barry played a shot to nothing there.
4.
Got a kiss on the red and left an easy opportunity for Ding. And that's just the way the game goes sometimes. It's one of the hardest things to accept for a professional player in snooker. Sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't, but it's very hard to accept when you're sitting in your seat and your opponent's made a mistake
10.
and you feel that you should have had a chance. Doesn't always work out that way. Now, what
11.
can Ding summon? He needs to really dig deep. As John quite rightly said, he needs to win the first 4 frames of this session to have any chance whatsoever in this match.
$18. 19.
What's he on? Maybe nothing. I don't think there's anything to go at. So it's just the safety. Just adds the frustration. Yeah, nothing on there. That's the player's view.
You just don't normally see him make mistakes like this, John, do you? Especially when he's in amongst the balls.
No. Usually so reliable, such a heavy scorer.
Ding Junhui, 26.
Well, pretty telling safety. Just needs to find some inspiration from somewhere. Barry still 14 points in front. Need a thin contact on that red to avoid the red on the right hand side of the table as we look, but got it too thin. Now normally you'd knock these in, but it's not normal this at the moment. Not close really.
It's a wonderful opening pot there from Barry Hawkins. Great degree of difficulty with that shot, striking down on the cue ball. Good chance now. I've often wondered, John, I know to be a champion at any sport, you pretty much have to have a little bit of everything, but in your honest opinion, which is more important, having a top-class technique or having the heart to go with it?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think you've got to have the technique, because I think that's something you can fall back and rely on under pressure. Yeah, obviously you need, you know, you look at people like Graham Dott, you know, tremendous battlers, you know, and give you nothing. And maybe Graham, for example, using Graham as an analogy, he hasn't got the best technique, and maybe that's why he won the World Championship, you know, just that will to win. But I think technique, if you haven't got that technique, then you're going to struggle at times, and I think that's why
14.
Barry over the last few years has been so consistent. His technique is so reliable, and he believes in it. Obviously he works a lot with Terry Griffiths, and it's been honed, and when he's under pressure, he can just think technique and get the results that are required.
15.
But he has become a very, very, well, one of the best match players in the game. There's no doubt about it. Strikes the ball well, and particularly on these super fine cloths. I mean, there's a classic example of how to strike the ball solid, you know, and
22.
doesn't hit the ball too hard. I see a lot of the players today hit the ball too hard. I'm sort of looking at it and thinking, well, hang on, this is a super fine cloth.
23.
You know, the ball's running up and down, and they just lose control of the cue ball because they start hitting the ball too hard. Whereas Barry seems to have that consistency of stroke, and when he's at his best, he's a match for anybody. No doubt about it.
He certainly is.
Just dropped in, but it's going to be a test of his next shot.
30.
But Ding Junhui needs a snooker. That black was frame ball. There you see it, 44 ahead, just 43 remaining.
Barry Hawkins, 30.
I thought for one horrible moment that Ding Junhui was going to stay in his seat there. Playing the swerve. One snooker needed. It's been done many, many times before. That's good. There's one of them, but trying to work out once when somebody needs one snooker, how many you have to get to force his opponent into a mistake. Well, oh, I thought he potted it. I mean, if he could have potted this red, which I'm not certain, no, he can't. But if he could have done, he'd have potted this red and tried to get the snooker on the last remaining red. Well, a bit of a nothing shot, that. He's left the red to the middle, and if Barry can knock this in, that's frame over. And in it is. So Ding Junhui needed a good start this morning. He's not got it. His hopes are fading fast. Doesn't matter about the blue.
Barry Hawkins, 1.
Oh, he's going to carry on, Ding Junhui, but for 3 snookers. Barry is 1 frame away from a place in the semi-final.
It's quite sad to see such a great player lose his touch. But, as you quite rightly say, John, it's only because of the pressure that Barry Hawkins has put on him in this match.
Where's the cue ball going? Well, that will be the end.
4 in frame.
Ding Junhui moves the blue up the table. As you say, it's sad, but Barry Hawkins won't be disappointed. He's now just 1 frame away from a place in the semi-final. He leads 12-5.